Welcome to another episode of the DJ Force X podcast. My very special guest on today's show is Nick from the band Make Them Suffer. Welcome, Nick.
Glad to be here.
I'm absolutely loving having you on here. I'm more of a recent fan of the band. So I'm not going to go back and say I've been a fan for years. I only recently discovered you. I know you're 5 albums deep now. So that's kind of like the thing that I'm like, oh, that's kind of embarrassing, but no, I'm going to own it. Um, but we are here today to talk about your fifth album, which is self-titled, so it's called Make Them Suffer. And it is out via SharpTone Records and Greyscale Records as well, in partnership with, on the 8th of November this year. So obviously, the first question I kind of want to ask is it being your fifth album and you're going to give it the self-title? Is that more of a symbolic thing in as much as this is where the band always wanted to get to, or you feel that this is the point where you've actually perfected your sound, if you will?
Yeah, so it was a very deliberate decision. And it depends how far you want to go back to, it depends how much detail you want. I mean, if I could, I'd be here for 3 hours explaining why we chose to make the album self-titled. But yeah, we've been a band for nearly 15 years, and it felt like for 10 of those years or more, we were learning how to become a band.
Yeah.
Those early records uh, were produced, written, recorded, released when we were still learning the ropes. And thankfully, our first record, Never Bloom, really gave us the leverage we needed to start touring Australia. And the internet caught on to the album, uh, which is now I'd consider it to be a cult classic.
Yeah.
Considered amongst a lot of our fans. You hear a lot of our fans talk about the Never Bloom record, but it wasn't until I want to say the How to Survive a Funeral era we really found our feet. And when Alex joined the band, it kind of filled in that missing piece that we we always had since we were a band.
Mm.
So when Alex joined, we kind of had this I don't know what you'd call it, like a revelation
Yeah.
almost. Everybody was seeing exactly the same thing. Everybody was on the same path. We all had the same goal, and it was only fitting that we would call the record self-titled. We're very lucky to still be a band. We got hit hard during COVID, and there was a point in the band's career where we were this close to breaking up, and Alex came in and sort of, helped us avoid all that. So
Yeah.
she's been in the band now for 2 years, and during the writing and recording process, we I think we were sitting down in Portland, um, doing the recording. It was when we were sitting down doing the recording, Sean, we were talking about album names, and that was when Sean was like, "Why don't we just make this album self-titled?" And
Mm.
we're all like, "Yeah, that makes sense." So
Yeah.
yeah, it was very deliberate.
Cool, cool. I mean, like I say, I mean, 5 albums in, I'm trying to think of any other band. There's a couple of bands that I've thought of that kind of done that where they've gone for a self-titled late on. I'd say late on in their career, late on in the album cycles, I suppose is the better word. You've been around 15 years, you've been around for a little while, but hopefully you've got another 15 years ahead of you. Um, just to sort of not bring doom and gloom onto that. But no, I mean it's a fantastic record. Like I've been very fortunate enough to hear the whole thing. The good people at SharpTone were very kind in letting me hear the full album, and it's got some absolutely amazing tracks on it. I mean, some of them you've already released. I mean, Oscillator, that was like one of the first tracks I heard off this album cycle, and that's a great song. And a great topic as well of it being like the kind of screen addiction related and things like that. That what was the sort of like what was the I don't know, the feelings behind that one, because there's quite a big topic to take on, especially in song form, and especially when, like, these days artists or create, gosh, I don't like calling I'm a podcaster, and a DJ, but content creator, I suppose, is the word. When you kind of don't rely on that screen time, but do at the same time, how did you tackle that? How do you kind of like, I know it's a double-edged sword at this point.
Yeah, look, yeah, I'm probably not the right person to ask in terms of our lyrical content, the
Okay.
song message. I produce and write all the instruments in the
Okay.
band. I'm less concerned with song meanings. But I did take a look through today was actually the first time I had uh, taken a real look at the lyrics. Like I knew what the song was sort of about,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'll be honest with you, it wasn't until today I actually read through the lyrics and went like, oh, this song's about the digital age and the information age and
Uh,
everybody looking at their mobile phones. So, I find already, just by looking through the lyrics, it was already very relatable. But look, I'm probably the wrong person to ask.
okay.
I focus on, I'm about the energy that the song brings instrumentally.
Yep.
So, to me, I can comment on the energy of the track, and that is and it was to I don't know. I guess everything's about the energy.
Yeah.
Everything's about energy in this band, and um, for since our inception, we've always been about bringing darkness to the light, yin to the yang. Um, and Oscillator instrumentally is that track.
Yeah.
And what I've observed lyrically through Sean's writing is that he combines that exact element through his lyric, through his lyric writing. So
Yeah.
Oscillator being a track about um, you know people being on their phones
Yep.
when you watch us live. When you watch us live, I think to me, that's where the message hits the most. You
Yeah.
can be listening to your music over your headphones, through your car speakers. But if you already know the song going in and you watch us live, um, you kind of feel you feel the yin to the yang.
Yeah.
It's a very, very, very difficult thing to explain, but
Yeah.
this is the fourth dimension that watching live bands brings. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
in terms of the lyrical message, definitely a question for Sean.
yeah, no worries, no worries. I mean, sonically, let's talk that. It's a fantastic track. I mean, the whole album, it's sort of tinged with a lot of sort of different styles. There's obviously this sort of like metalcore element, and there's this like electronic element as well, which obviously from your point of view, this is probably where you shine, um on that front. So not being sort of au fait with your previous works as such from myself, but was that something you've always had, like that electronic element within your music, or is that something that's kind of been adopted late on?
No, it was always there. The Never Bloom record, it was strings and synths. That was all done electronically.
Yeah.
That was always there. It sort of evolved over time from strings to what it is now. Like technically speaking, I'm using all the same. We're using all the same programs we used back in Neverbloom.
Okay.
We've just adopted them in a way that make might make them sound more futuristic. Some of those string samples, they're the same ones that we've been using since Neverbloom, but we throw in we throw in different plugins and different types of sounds over the top of them to layer them and make them sound, I don't know, futuristic.
Yeah.
Granted, we have added separate samples that are completely, outside of that Never Bloom realm. But if you look at the Worlds Apart record, our third record, um, it's somewhere in the middle between what we have going now and Never Bloom, right?
Yeah.
And not to say that we don't, Epitaph's a track on the new record. Occasionally, we'll still bring in that old Never Bloom element. There's Never Bloom strings come back, but then we'll throw something over the top there, like you hear those glitchy, the futuristic samples. So it's a sonic representation of. I like to see it as a sonic representation of how our music's evolved over time.
Nice, nice. And what are your go-to synths and like recording or DAWs, if you will, recording platforms?
Well, I'm a Logic guy.
Cool.
I use Logic X,
Yep.
and those string samples elements, they're pulled from, like, man, a lot of them are actually stock. A lot
Hey,
of them are stock
always good.
plugins.
It's
Yeah,
like that's a massive lesson for a lot of people right there, because like you can spend so much money on VSTs, plugins, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of the times people just bypass the stock stuff. It's
that's true. I'm guilty of, spending a lot of money on on plugins and
me too.
never
Hey,
actually
don't worry about
using them,
that.
only to go back to stock plugins and such. But yeah, you're right. They are actually, there's definitely very, very good purpose for them if you know how to use them correctly.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. And I mean, I use Logic a little bit on here as well, along with Ableton, and I've got a couple of plugins, Native Instrument stuff. Just over the years
Yep.
I've
Yep.
collected over and over. Whenever I see things are on sale that I've always kind of wanted, be it a plugin for whatever sound. Got a bunch of, I think, Korg synths that I use, like old rave synths from the 90s kind of thing. So yeah,
Yeah, I got that as well.
yeah, yeah. I'll say definitely guilty of spending money. Don't worry about it. But yeah, no, some of the
Yeah.
stock stuff, especially with Logic and Ableton, actually comes with quite a bit of stock instrumentation and stuff. And most of that is actually pretty good. Like, obviously, if you want that kind of like, if you've got the time to spend to make it sound like the way you want it to, like if you want
Yeah.
that classic synth, that particular Roland synth or whatever, you can either go and buy that plugin, or you can try and create it yourself. So it's whether or not you can spend that time tweaking it. But if you're in that position, then you can do that. So, but no, that's really cool. I mean, like I said, the overall production of the album's fantastic. It sounds huge. Um, and not for a cheap plug or anything here, but I'm wearing these heavies headphones. And I know you
Cool.
guys have like got the limited caps for them um
Yes.
on there. So I thought I'd give those a shout out. Like, I'm not endorsed by them in any way. So anyone watching, I literally bought these with my own money. I don't have your caps on it though, unfortunately. I've only just got the standard heavy ones. Um
Not yet.
Not yet, not yet. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you guys, there's a code you guys that have on your website that people can see, where they can get money off the headphones. But like on these headphones in particular, and I've got like in ears as well. But like the whole album, I've had it on in here like on rotation, and it just sounds massive. Like it sounds like there's this like, I mean it, and it's all self-produced as well, which is again like, especially keeping it within the band front, the sort of I guess the sound that you guys want, and you can achieve that. Obviously, I know you had like someone come in as well for mixing and mastering, I believe, was it?
Yeah. I want to point out that the term production, when we say we produce it, the term's quite ambiguous, right? Like, producing an album can mean lots of things. When we say we self-produce the album, most of it would be uh, written demoed out in my studio apartment in Melbourne. So that's where we do most of the groundwork.
Yeah.
And when it came to recording, we would have had arrangements of songs mostly there. And we actually, so the recording, engineering, mixing, mastering was actually all done with Jeff Dunn in Portland. So we'd come to Jeff's studio in Portland with everything demoed out,
Hmm.
all our stem files ready to ready to
Mix.
throw into mix. Yeah, throw into his. We'll do some re-recordings. We'll re-record
Yeah.
guitars. We'll record drums in the studio, and the production element really mostly comes from the writing, arrangement, and doing all the sampling
Yeah. Yeah.
for the song. So this is the first time we really got to self produce a record, and we did the same thing for Worlds Apart.
Yeah.
But I don't really like to count that because back then we didn't really know what we were doing. The How to Survive a Funeral album we had produced um, by Drew Falk in LA in
Mhm.
2019, and we harnessed. I want to say we harnessed a lot of our production knowledge from him,
Yeah.
and a lot of the new record, the way we would approach the songs was, I want to be able to thank him for that because I don't think we would be self-producing the record if we hadn't have had that experience in 2019. If we did self-produce and hadn't have had that experience, it'd be a completely different
Yeah.
record. So
Yeah, definitely, definitely, and that's a lot of things that bands can learn from that. Like, in as much as when you are in the presence of a producer, um, and you are in there with them in the booth in the studio, learn from them. Like, I mean, some musicians probably don't care. They'll just like, make me sound good, and they continue to sort of, but like knowing how to produce yourself is key in a lot of things because then you know what you want going into the studio, you can achieve it, and it's not someone else's vision kind of taking over. Like, there's producers I know from the past that kind of have a sound, and it's because they use the same amp heads. It's used no matter what band comes in, like they have to use the Marshall or the Laney or whatever, and in their so it sounds, everything that they produce sounds like, oh, that's produced by such and such, and it's not the band, and a lot of those bands,
yeah,
don't learn. Like, and I know it put kind of, it might be a negative thing for the producer in the sort of long term, if that makes sense, because you're kind of learning from them, but you're also future earnings for them. It might go down just by a band or two. But then,
mm.
but that's music's like that. Music is like you learn from each other, no matter from production to writing. So
Yeah, I want to point out as well the mixing engineer in this context.
mm,
As a producer, as a band that's self-produced, you want to go into an environment where, you can't just pick a, a mixing engineer just because he's good at mixing.
yeah,
You have to already know that your production is going to translate well with his mix, and this is the benefit of working with a single producer that encompasses all of things, right? He's there from the writing process, he's there helping you arrange the music, and then he's there at the end mixing and mastering it. All of that,
yeah,
the writing process and the mixing process. It's important those two uh, those two are very close to each other. So with Jeff, we've had a very long history with Jeff. He actually had something to do with the Neverbloom with the Neverbloom record. I think he helped supply some of the drum samples. Can't quite remember. It was
okay,
that long ago.
yeah,
Everything pre-COVID. I'm kind of a little hazy about. But Jeff was there recording our guitars in 2019 with Jeff because he was his assistant, and there was a relationship formed there with him, and from there we were able to sort of gain an understanding of how our production would work with his mix.
cool. Nice, nice. It's always good to have someone legacy wise, like who knows and you trust with those sounds and things like that as well. But I mean, talking from the studio, we're going to talk about live now. You got a tour coming up. You're coming to the UK, um, which is great.
Indeed.
You're supporting Berry tomorrow, which you've just been playing with in Australia. Um, and you got Thornhill, and as everything unfolds there, but you're playing Glasgow, Manchester, and London at the end of November. You're also hitting the Netherlands, Germany, and Belgium. So that looks like an absolute amazing tour. Bury Tomorrow, a
Yeah.
fantastic band. Thornhill again, and as everything unfolds, they're all. It's going to be a great tour for you guys. It should be a lot of fun. And tickets are available now for anyone listening, watching at this time. And I know I've got a very few minutes left with you, so I've got a couple of questions left, if that's all right. Just more about yourself. What I want to find out are your three most pivotal records out of your life. I know this sounds like a big question, but
Yeah.
like like when you heard a certain song and it made you want to be in a band or made you want to produce music or anything like that, can you
Yeah.
point any particular songs or albums that maybe relate to that?
Albums, yeah. So Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water was my very first record. I bought that with my own money. I bought it as a tape, as a cassette.
Nice,
Still listen to it to this day. Still hits the same.
excellent.
Um, yeah, my one true love. That record, my one true love.
Yeah,
And
fantastic
the
record.
other two, the other two would have to be or records. I can think of bands,
Yeah, go for it.
but records is a tough one. But Thrice
Yep.
is another. Their first three albums, actually, I want to say first four records, including Vesu, um, were very were very instrumental in shaping
Yeah.
my approach towards melody. The way we choose melody in our music. And the third one, number three, it's tough. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
It's nailing it down to one, isn't it?
There's, yeah, yeah. No, it's really hard.
Okay.
I've got so many artists I kind of
No
like,
worries. I mean, the two you've
you know,
named there.
but those two.
Yeah, those are fantastic. I mean, Limp Bizkit, I'm a massive new metal fan. I got turntables behind me, and they do get used to scratch with. And I was in a new metal band when I was younger, so and yeah, so I'm very much into that side of it. Thrice, fantastic. Former guests on the show as well. I had Riley on here, absolutely fantastic guest. We end up just
Awesome.
talking about baseball all the time. But finally, enough of that. Finally, what are your hobbies away from music? So, what do you do to sort of get away from the studio, get away from like when music just sort of gets on top of you? Is there anything you kind of like do to sort of get away from it?
Um, yeah, outside music, as of the last couple of years, I've been really into fitness, and some will tell you that Alex Reed joining the band has something to do with that. And let me tell you, contrary to popular belief, it is not.
Okay.
So yeah, I like training. I like body science.
Yeah.
Um, I've been really into that past number of years, and outside of that, I play a lot of sport. I play football.
Okay.
So that was my, I guess, like fork in the road sort of thing
Yeah.
growing up. It was either going to be between sport, sport or music, and unfortunately, I chose music. So um, I'm still, I'm still trying to keep fit, and football's my other passion that I
Nice.
don't get to talk
Nice.
about with
Do you have a
many
team?
people. So
Do you have a team in particular that you support?
yeah, yeah, I do. It's United.
Ah, okay. Sorry.
I hate it. I hate it when anybody from the UK asks me
Yeah.
that.
No, it's all right. I mean, I'm a Liverpool fan, so that's why I'm like,
Oh boy.
but
Yeah.
there you go. That's what it is. That's what football's all about and everything. Well, Nick, thank you very much for your time. I will let you go because I know you got another thing to go on to. But honestly, thank you very much. Good luck with the tour coming up. Good luck with the album and everything. I look forward to sort of hope I'm going to try and make one of the shows. So I look forward to seeing you guys play. But yeah, have a good rest of your night because I know it's very late there. And I want to thank you again for your time and everything. So thank you.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on. It was good.
No worries. Have a good one. Bye
See
bye.
you later.